Today's stupid hard task that should not be so hard. Um, so I talked about setting up a hair appointment with this lady I've never been to before, right? And I've seen her many times, talked to her a handful, not extensively, but enough. I know she's nice. And she's not the one that answers the phone anyway. But yeah, calling for setting up a hair appointment at somewhere I've never been before. The other place was nice because you could just go online and do it. And I like that. I like not having to put too much thought in it. But this place, the only web page they have is on Facebook, and it doesn't really have a whole lot of information. It's like, gotta do the thing. Why is that so hard? That's ridiculous. It shouldn't be. I've called people before. Fun fact, for a very brief span of time, I had a job at a call center. And I knew that wasn't going to be for long, but it was like, well, okay. Yeah, that was not good. It's very short-lived. But it did exist. And I don't know why. I feel like as I've gotten older, it's something I like to do even less than before. So, not that I ever really enjoyed it, because the whole the phone thing and going back to the voice thing when I was little. Maybe that's still a contributing factor. Like some deep level is that. I mean, obviously that conversation has come up a few times on this YouTube thing, but maybe that's part of my hold up still. I don't know. Which is stupid. I just need a haircut. I think the bigger part is asking about like prices and everything and not really knowing right this second when the next time I have or I'm going to have as much as it'll cost readily available. I mean, at least January, but it's not that far away. And it'll probably be at least that far out before I can get in anyway. However, that goes back to that point of learning to trust the universe and like the money. Every time I've needed anything, it shows up right on time. Like, I was able to pay that bit on my Care credit card that was going to make it so I would have to pay interest if I didn't get it handled by Christmas Eve. It's been handled, so there's that. So there's something always happens, and it's always taken care of, but not without some stress and learning to trust first. So throw out some extra thank yous and all that stuff, since everything's still good otherwise, I guess. I don't know. Today we walked a little short walk. We went like it was like just over a quarter of a mile, like 0.27 or 28 or something. And it was literally just around this one corner of the cemetery. It was like, nope, too cold. We got halfway up the hill. It's like, this sucks. We went ahead and finished out our lap, but we had to keep stopping to sniff and tinkle along the way. So it's like, yo, if we stop stopping, we can get to the car faster. We were out there for like, I think probably 7 minutes. So no big deal, but still more than I really enjoyed. And Ziva's got her little shirt on, but she goes outside for longer at times, like especially if I'm not home. She's pretty good about staying close to the fence since we have a dog door and keeping an eye on whenever I get back. This cold, she'll be in the house a little more, but she still goes out and checks periodically if I'm not back in a timely fashion. Yeah. So yesterday, my grandfather got back home on hospice, and well, okay, this wasn't anything super huge. It was just kind of annoying. I was watching yesterday's video to make sure everything was okay, and I got a text from my dad, something about going over to my grandparents' house. He sent it to me before they were back, and he sent me a couple messages. But one of them, he said that Mom wanted me to go over there. It's like, why? Why is it necessary for me to be there? He's like, I don't know, and I think he was partly annoyed because he got put on the mission to go over there, in case, I think the idea was in case the ambulance and my mom and her sisters didn't arrive before the nurse did for some reason, to do his intake. So yeah, but anyway, I had just started watching my video, and it was yesterday's an hour and a half, somewhere around there. It was over an hour for sure. But I don't know how far along I was in it, and then the conversation happened. It's like, I was clicking out of the video since it wasn't posted and it was just on my my phone. So I would switch over to the text messaging and then switch back and start the video again, or where I'd left off and all that. And my brother and I were we were very much in contact on all this stuff. But it was, I don't know, it was just, why was I necessary, right? And I didn't finish the whole video. I think I got a little over an hour. I think I still had 20 minutes left. And I was like, all right, I guess I should go see what they need. And I commented to my brother, I've been summoned, wish me luck, or something. And went over there, and my grandma's sitting on the couch, my grandpa's in the hospital bed they have in the living room, and my two aunts and my mom are all in there. And my uncle was one of my uncles was leaning against one wall. My dad was sitting in the dining room in the wheelchair they just brought back in the house, and I leaned against the wall for the intake stuff for a couple of minutes, and it's like, I'm not necessary in here. So I went and sat in one of the recliners in the dining room area, and this is so stupid too. At one point, my dad's like, I don't know why we're here. And then he goes and checks in with my mom and says, did you need something from her? And she said no. And he came back and said, well, I guess you can go. And I was just like, yeah. So by this time, my other uncle had gotten there, and his wife had asked him to stop and get a few groceries, including my mom some grapes for her grape addiction, because obviously we got to keep that going. I mean, there are definitely worse things to be addicted to, but yeah, it's still a silly addiction nonetheless. But whatever, it is what it is. So my aunt comes over, and since my dad wasn't sitting in the wheelchair anymore, she puts the grapes on the wheelchair because it's kind of close to me, and says, these are your mom's. It's like, of course they are. and she walked over, and she was, I think, putting some of the other groceries up, and my uncle was standing there when my dad came in and said that I could go. And I was like, all right. So I stood up, I collected the grapes and took them out to my mom's car. But on my way through, I looked at my aunt and uncle that were standing there. It's my mom's youngest sister, the two that I have most detachment from this whole situation. Right. So I was walking past them. It's like, well, apparently I wasn't necessary. Who didn't see that coming? And my uncle's like, doing right exactly what I was talking about. It's like, apparently I've been dismissed. So, and my aunt kind of laughed at me, but I went and got in the car, came back home. Of course, the driveway was really awkwardly parked because my dad had pulled in by the barn, so he wasn't going anywhere. My mom had pulled her car in front of the barn, but like 2 spaces back from where my dad was parked. And then there were 2 cars on the one side of the driveway and nobody on the other side of the driveway because, they'd had to have room for the ambulance to come in and out. When I got there, I just kind of pulled in through the corner of the yard and, went behind my mom's car. So I had to back out through the yard too. So, I mean, it wasn't a huge deal or anything, but still, like, it was snowing. It was slick. This is like, what's the point in getting everybody over here? So I went home and I sent my brother a message. It's like, I was unnecessary as anticipated. It was completely unnecessary for me to go over there at all. Who didn't see that coming? And she's like, yep. And it's like, but I got the sense that my mom was pleased that I had showed up and my dad was pleased that I had showed up, almost like he'd done his duty. He passed along the message that it was so important for me to be there and I showed up. And it's like, well, that just makes me not want to show up the next time. So, keep crying wolf like we talked about the other day. You keep doing the things when it's like completely unnecessary. It's just going to make it so it doesn't ever happen. And yeah, we're right there. So I was going to take Gracie to school today and then okay. So I don't even know how to explain it. There are some nights that I wake up and it's like really freaking hot, and like I don't know if I've talked about being an open channel before, and I think that's kind of part of it. So it's like burning off like this negative shit that tries to latch onto me and get it out of my system, kind of a thing. Because it seems like the more I'm around the dense energies and have more to get out of my system, it's like those are nights that I get really, really hot and like wake up sweaty. It's like, what is this all about? I don't like this. But since I did that, I got up at one point, not immediately, because I was gonna take a shower before I got ready for the day, and I was gonna take Gracie to school. So yeah, but I saw it. There it is. Yeah, but I was going to take Gracie to school, so I didn't stay up when I was sweaty that first time I realized it. It was like, it's not so bad that I can't put it off a little bit and, just get up and take a shower whenever I was getting ready. Well, then when I was getting ready to get in the shower, like I turned the water on and all that fun stuff, and then the phone rings, and my brother called and said that, hey, Jen's going in late to work, so we're going to take Gracie to school. It's like, well, fine timing. I think I just wanted to make sure they weren't on their way first to drop her off, because I didn't verify the time frame. Usually it's around 7:30, but sometimes it's earlier, sometimes it's later. But yeah, it's like, that was gross, but I had to do laundry today anyway. And so I got up this morning and threw my sheets in the washer and took my shower and all that fun stuff. But it's like, I really feel like that has something to do with just like burning off the energies, keeping them from staying too completely latched on. And part of why I say that is I don't remember dreaming per se, but it's like I feel like there was a lot going on, energetically speaking. Partly, I mean, with the burning off the negative stuff, but also, like, I woke up in a better mood. And then I was listening to my sappy music. Kind of be in the lovey feeling. Try to start the day positively. But I don't necessarily listen to the sappy music every day. But if I get up early and then have to go, or then I have time to go back to sleep or whatever before I'm taking Gracie to school or whatever, before I have to get ready for all that, then I will usually put it on so I don't fall too deep asleep. If I were to fall back asleep, usually it's not a problem. But yeah, it's like there was a lot going on, and I feel like I woke up in a really good mood. So it's like, oh, that's very encouraging. Yeah, and it felt like some higher level connecting with positive energies, as well as burning off the lower energies. So yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain that. I probably sound crazy half the time. That's all right. I think that's a big part of just my upbringing and my life in general. Was because I had to get used to the fact that I sound crazy a lot. Talk about energetics and all that stuff. Not everybody believes in that. So do I? Obviously I do. And obviously I feel like it affects me in some kind of way a lot. So yeah. But, not knowing who's going to come across my stuff and they just think I'm full of shit. Entirely possible. All good. I'm pretty settled with knowing that's a legit possibility. Yeah. Let's see. I did, however, in the morning confusion, which it shouldn't have been that confusing, and yet yesterday my mom asked me if I would take my grandma to her hair appointment, and I said I would, but then I forgot, and my mom called me actually when I was getting ready to get in the shower the second time. The first time my brother called and I was like, oh well, I don't need to get ready yet, so I went back in my room. And then the next time I was getting ready to take a shower, then my mom called and it's like, oh fuck, I forgot. And it's like, wait, why did I forget? I shouldn't. It's like, did I just get pulled back into the family drama to the point that I just can't remember things again? I mean, probably. But then I realized she asked me like at 11 o'clock yesterday morning, and I mean, that was fine, but then there was more drama going on all throughout the day and confusion with the hospice shit and trying to get everything figured out on getting my grandfather back home and all that. So it's like there was a lot. At first it was like I feel like I should have been able to remember that, but then I was like there was a lot of back and forth in the group, like the chat with my mom and dad, and then just my dad trying to get me to cooperate with my mom's summonings and all that crap. And that's something that I noticed too. Like he was real snippy about when he was going over there the second time. And something came up with it today, and there was some confusion, and then some frustration and venting, and for both me and my father. But it's like, I think one of the things that he was so pleased about was that I had cooperated. So when my mom asked him to do something, summon me, and then I cooperated, eventually I was at least I was somewhat cooperative. I got there, and that was the thing. So since I did my duty and went over to see what was needed, and nothing was needed, so I could be dismissed. It's like that's the shit that makes me not want to go over there at all, But then when I said something to my dad about something my mom wanted, because I thought she was wanting me to go track something down for her at my grandma's house, and then she was going back there before they were going to the bank in between the hair appointment, and apparently my grandma panicked and took everything out of the safe deposit box without talking to any of the daughters and figuring out what she was supposed to do or not. She just pulled everything out of the safe deposit box and had to take that back over there today. Or I don't know if they were taking it out or if they were just closing it out. So it's hard to say in this group anymore. But yeah. Wasn't entirely sure that wasn't my dad's truck, but it doesn't have the handles in the back doors. So no, it's not. He ain't above showing up randomly where I'm at. I think he did that in another video. I was at the actual park, and I don't know why he knew I was going over there to walk the dogs, and then he showed up to also walk dogs. It's like, we don't have to do this together. But I wasn't there just to walk dogs. I was mainly there to do the video. And then that's something I've been thinking about today, was the anxiety of doing the video and all the things, right? So, this whole process, I think this morning was just like what I was thinking about. It was kind of embracing that aspect of my crab self where I very much like to be in my shell and not out in the middle of a bunch of things that are going around. I started thinking about like hermit crabs. My brother had hermit crabs at one point when he was in high school. Our family friend, I think the one that passed away in March was the one that got them for him. And so he had them in this little tank and that little cup of water they'd climb in and out of, and he'd replace the shells, and like every now and then, when they died, it's like, okay, first when they like got out of the shell to, they go get in the water or whatever, and then go to find their other shell. It's like, those little buggers were kind of nasty looking. It's like, no wonder they don't like showing their ass that much. They're good and awkward and kind of ugly looking, really. It's like, they look so exposed. It's like, that's how I feel on that, like, the doing the big scary things, and the idea of having any kind of audience is terrifying, right? And it's like, it took me to this thought of the ugly ass hermit crabs, and how weird they look when they're exposed. And it's like, like emotionally speaking, energetically speaking, I feel like all of that when if I have any kind of audience for anything, like if I make a smart ass comment in my family, it's not so bad because I've been around them for years. But like if there's a mixture of people I don't know, I've been less inclined to embrace that part of myself and like actually speaking up. It's like, So yeah, that was just something I was thinking about. And then like, especially since I started doing this YouTube thing, it's like, okay, I'm putting the videos out there. I know they have the potential to go wherever the universe wants them to go, and I can be completely oblivious to anything that's happening with them, right? And, because it's not bad. I come over here to the cemetery or to the park or to the school, and I talk to my phone. That's easy. Nobody's here looking at me when I'm doing this, except for the dogs on occasion. And currently, they're sleeping now. They've gotten used to me doing this weird shit, so now it's just like, oh, mom's doing the thing again. Okay. So, yeah, Gidget, when I said looking that way, she looked at me, but still got her head down. But yeah, it's like how sensitive I've been throughout this process. If somebody gets too close to seeing what I'm doing or whatever, it's like, I know there's been a couple times since when I've been over here at the cemetery, and it's like, pause it, let me relocate because somebody's parked there looking at me sitting in the car and wondering why I'm not going anywhere probably, and it's a big thing, and it's like, it feels like it's more of an ordeal than it should be. So yeah, but that's a big thing. It shouldn't be, but yet I feel like it is because I was not encouraged to use my voice, right? So now that I'm starting to do the thing, when the thing that had previously been discouraged in my lifetime, it gets kind of scary at times, which is to be expected. Coming a lot further than I really, I don't know, I didn't know what to expect when I started this whole thing. You know, I mentioned that, okay, I mentioned before that I set the intention at one point that my twin flame wouldn't find me before, okay, that when he finds me, he will know who I am and who I am to him. So that was the big thing, because then I realized it's like, that requires that I fully come to terms with who I am myself before I can expect anybody else to recognize that point, right? So stepping into that authenticity aspect and being true to who I know myself to be, it's been a lot of effort in getting to this point, for sure. And yeah, I don't know, I was also kind of thinking about that point I mentioned yesterday with the card I pulled the other day that talked about having 1 foot in the old world and 1 foot in the new world, and trying to navigate the space that I'm in, which isn't fully in one but not fully in the other either. You know, it's like, because you can't go back. There's no going back to what was. You know, that's dead and gone. Like, the ability of me to shrink myself back into that spot, it's over. I can't, you know, and I wouldn't want to at this point anyway, now that I realize this. It's not so terrifying doing things that, well, I mean, you know, it was pretty terrifying when I started out. But it's not so bad now that I've done it for a while and got, I think this will be 104th video maybe. You know, so it's like, I feel like I'm definitely more secure about doing this thing regularly now, you know, since there's been several days in a row that I've done it. But that's something I should probably figure out later. When was the last time I skipped? Because I know there, for a while, it might have been November 11th. That was the 1 year anniversary. So I don't know if that was when I full on jumped into the thing and started making it a daily thing, or if that happened at a different time. I know that I said that I felt like it, like the energy is picking up around it. It feels like it's easier at this point, but there are still moments that feel not as easy, mainly with getting into it still. Although I'm finding that I'm getting better about just jumping in. It's like, okay, here's the thing that I thought about, so let's start there. Let's go. So yeah. It's still awkward at times. That's me. I'm still navigating it. It's a little, yeah. But like, I guess part of what I was thinking about this morning was at the point where I've fully embraced the new and get to, living the life that has supportive friends and like soul family connections, instead of the family connections that I'm used to, where you're great as long as you're as miserable as everybody else is. But if you start not being miserable, then we're going to do everything we can to pull you back into the misery. And I don't want to be in the misery all the time. That sucks. I don't want to be in the misery anytime if I can avoid it. That's just, yeah, it sucks. And the gratitude thing's kind of nice, and actually really learning to appreciate at where I am compared to where I was. That's a big one. Yeah. And even like I mentioned before that, my mom will make fun of me for prioritizing my dogs. It's like, they're the only ones that give a shit if I'm happy. They like it when I'm happy, and they get more happy when I'm happy. So, because I do more things, we've been walking way more than we ever did before. This is the only time in my life that I have actively tried to make sure I can do it daily as much as possible. And we started walking again back in, I think, March or April, when it started warming up again. And then it still wasn't until May that I really wanted to prioritize it and made it a thing where we were doing it every single day. And it was like, even if it was raining or whatever, it's like, if we could at least get enough dry time to walk in the side lot a quarter of a mile, that's good. And now it's freaking cold, so now we're just going to have to dial that back a little bit, because I don't like that kind of cold. Neither do they. Although if I go out in the backyard and I'm throwing the I'm going to say the word, if I throw the ball for Gidge, yep, she looked at me, then they'll all be out there, and Ziva might be cold, but she's gonna be out there as long as we're out there. Be part of the group. She doesn't love having the shirt on all the time. It's funny because I think she definitely knows it keeps her warmer, and she appreciates that aspect, I think. But if it's just the house, inside the house, it gets a little dry, because we keep the fireplace on the thermostat, so if it gets, I think, less than 72 in that room, the fireplace comes on, which also means it sucks the moisture out of the rest of the house. So, lots of static. Yeah. So she doesn't, I don't want to keep it on her, because, there was one time I had my Sheltie Chance, back when, I think before we had the humidifier going. It actually might have been the reason we got the humidifier going. I went to pet him, and there was like a spark, like this big static electricity from my finger to his nose, and it hurt both of us. And it's like, oh, so then it's like, we got to fix that. So we got the humidifier going, and now I'm the one that prioritizes the humidifier, because, okay, Taz likes to, when he's getting off of the bed in the morning, he will slide his front feet down, and then slide all the way off. There's just these little sparks that fly when he's doing that. It's like, yeah, yep, we should put more moisture in the air. again because it's getting zappy again. Or like if I touch the handle on the fridge, that'll get me. So I gotta do that again. Yeah, yesterday the thing I have in my room said the humidity in the house was, or at least for in my room, was like 31%. It's a little low. Plus I have a space heater in my bird room that I put it at 66, so if it gets less than 66, that'll kick on. So I figure that's low enough for the birds. And that room, it was my bedroom growing up. It's like always been the hottest in the summer and the coldest in the winter. And my dad says he doesn't think they insulated it right, or maybe skipped a wall or something. It's like, yeah, I don't know. All I know is it's cold in the winter and it's hot in the summer. Of course, at this point, that cold in the winter might actually be nice because, waking up sweaty is gross. So, I don't know. I mean, I thought about, I still have 2 birds, so I'm keeping the big bird cage that they're in until, and they're just going to leave it together just because it's more trouble and it's worth to take it apart. Until something happens to them, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, I've thought about putting my bed back in there when there's not so much stuff. But with the bird cage, it's kind of irrelevant anyway, because the birds need to stay where my desk is. Because if it was just, okay, having my current bedroom, which is my brother's old bedroom, it's like wall-to-wall furniture. That's one problem. And like doubled up things. Like we have a twin bed that we're storing for some reason, mainly because whenever I do finally get out of there, then they'll probably put that back, and then if Gracie stays all night, that'll be where she goes. But for now, since I don't need it, I got my dog, so I can't go smaller than a queen bed because they got to be able to be up there too, even though only 2 of them actually stay on the bed most of the time. Oh yeah, the box spring, since it has absolutely no give, is behind one of my bookcases, which works because the bookcase is thin and the dresser it's next to, it comes out a lot further, so it just pretty much evens them up. But it still takes a bunch of space out of the room. And then the mattress is alongside my bed, and it's basically like a ledge so the dogs can lay in front of the window. That's basically what it ends up amounting to. Which Gidge likes to sit up there. And that's the only window that they can really look out easily. The one in the living room, they kind of can, but they still have to stand on something or lean against something to be able to see out over the wall. And that's the window that's down the lowest, so I don't even know what. Oh yeah, if I don't know, I won't go that route because I'm not looking for anything to happen to the 2 birds that I have left, and the one's only like 3.5, so she should still have a few more years anyway. But yeah, they have to stay in the office because otherwise, I've had them in the room where my bed was before, and when I first moved back, my my old bedroom was my bedroom, and it was also where I had my birds and everything. So it was a tight squeeze, very dusty, very dusty because birds, and that's not good to breathe that all the time. Even if you stick them in the shower regularly, let them take their baths and all that, alleviate some of the dust. They're still awfully dusty. But then my desk was in the other room. It's like, once my mom was like, you clean the stuff out of that room, you can use that room. It's like, all right. Handled. Not handled well. But I have 2 spaces. It's just very crowded, and not everything in the bedroom is mine, because like Gracie's got a drawer in the dresser too, and the closet. That closet, my mom's got a bunch of stuff in. It's like, there's just really shortage of space in general. Oh, it's crowded. I gotta work on that. I've been working on that. I have. I've been. I don't know how many things I've burned since I've been back home. Like, I had the last time, I think I had like 7 or 8 boxes of things that I burned, because it's like, well, I don't need this. Why am I still holding on to it? Yeah, there was one point in time when I worked at the group home. I had all these clothes in my closet where it's like, well, that might fit again one day, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I finally looked at it one day. It's like, I haven't worn it in like 10 years. There's no sense in hanging on to that shit. So I took like 13 of the 13-gallon trash bags full of clothes I didn't want anymore, and took it to the group home to let the clients go through. And like, a lot of the stuff that I wear, like t-shirts and stuff, they're usually like men's sizes anyway, so like men and women both were benefiting from that. It's like, everybody enjoyed going through my stuff. It's like, I enjoyed getting it out of my space, and it's like, ooh, breathing room. And it's amazing how that does work. It's like, you get rid of a little bit of clutter, and then it's like, ooh, you can breathe a little more, expand further, and then the next thing happens, and then go do more clutter clearing and expand even further yet. So that's helpful. It's not helpful when you pull all your boxes in from the shed and put them in the house to go through them, and then you hit a little bit of a pause and stall out for a little bit. I get back to that, because that's but it's one of those things. It's like you get the good momentum going for a while, and then you just kind of got to stop and recover. And yeah, that's, and even that, like, my grandfather has brand new shirts from 1980 that tags are still on. It's like, why do you have it? To wear like the same set of 10 or whatever all the time. And he had one shirt that he finally started wearing and talked about how much he liked it, and his grandpa got it for him. It's like, that's just sad, dude. It's like, clearly that is where some of this comes from, because he didn't ever use it, but he didn't get rid of it. It's like, that's unnecessary. Now we're just collecting. That's, and okay, if you got something from Sears, and then Sears Bayou goes out of business, which that happened. I don't know if there's any of them still around, but I'm pretty sure they're not going to take back something from 25 years ago or better. He's got like, God, I think there were like 8 pairs of the exact same style of shoes, because my aunt had gotten him some to shuffle through so he could get rid of the old ones, and he liked the old ones so much he just kept wearing them instead until the Velcro broke or whatever. Yeah, because he rocks the plain black shoes with the Velcro. So yeah, has all my life. But yeah, he's got like this collection of them. It's like, How much, do you know, have any idea how much better you would feel if you just got rid of that stuff? It's completely unnecessary hanging on to it. I don't know of anybody other than him who wears the Velcro shoes, you know? So, yeah, we're not going to give them to anybody. I mean, they'll probably go to Goodwill or something, and maybe somebody will be like, oh, hey, Grandpa might like these. Maybe. if there's many of those grandfathers that remain by the time they finally get there. I don't know. Yeah. You know, like there's a car that just pulled in here. There's a red SUV. I don't know if it's the one with the lady that works here or if it's just somebody here to visit a grave. Oh, that's a dude. That's a younger dude. So, okay, they are just visiting. You know, but like before, that freaked me out. Now, I'm back on this little road. It's like there's no graves in this small little section. It's right up at the front of the cemetery. So I figured it's the safest spot to keep me out of the way, really. And, you know, people see me on my phone, probably just think I'm just talking to somebody. So, hey, it's not all that bad, but it took me a long time to get comfortable enough to be able to do this. You know, even a couple weeks ago, I was still looking at, you know, the other section. Probably less than a couple weeks ago. You know, I still don't want my family around. Oh, that's why the bird thing came up. If something were to happen to the birds, then I would probably switch my desk and my bedroom and my office back around, because I like to have my clothes in the bedroom, but at the same time, I have more furniture that holds clothes in the other room. So, like, my dresser in there, it has CDs that I was going through and didn't want to get rid of this chunk, but got rid of all these others. Kind of. I posted on Facebook this box of like 40 plus Christian music CDs that I used to listen to all the time. Or some of them were brand new and haven't been opened. A lot of them are in pristine condition. A lot of them are a little, they got some wear. You know, because back then you put the stupid CDs in the sleeves, and then the sleeves end up scratching them too. So that's not helpful. But it was what it was. So I just put all this shit together and posted it on Facebook for $30 if anybody wants it, right? Yesterday I had somebody, or not yesterday, day before yesterday, I had somebody send me a message and ask me if I'd be willing to ship it. It's like 40 plus CDs. It's like, do you have any idea how expensive that's going to be? And what was it she said? Can you ship this? It's like, not without a lot of additional cost and effort. And she said, well, how much would it be? I said, I don't know. I'm not the post office, and it's not, and they're not open on Sunday. And she said, well, I know that. It's like, then why did you say that? I didn't look it up because I didn't seriously expect anybody would ask me to ship it to like another town that's, I think, probably maybe an hour away or so. It's like, you want them that bad. There's a lot. I spent a lot of money on the shit that's in that box, you know, and yes, a bunch of them are scratched, but they still work well, because, you know, when I moved back from Alabama, I was listening to them in this car, so they still work that I know of, and, you know, if they don't, $30 for over 40 CDs, that's still pretty decent, so, especially when a bunch of them are pristine, but yeah. You know, and there's some other odds and ends that I threw in there, like once I started realizing how scratched my CDs were getting by putting them in the sleeves, then I made copies of the CDs to keep in the sleeves, and then it didn't bother me if they got all scratched up, and I could switch it so I only put the songs I really wanted to listen to on there, and I could combine them with different groups. So it worked well for me that way. So I just, threw that book in there. It's got a handful of duplicates to the CDs that I already have, but hey. Yeah. Less scratched versions, I guess. But yeah, it's like interestingly, I've only had like 3 people ask me about those. Granted, CDs aren't really a huge thing. I'm of the mindset, I got Spotify, what do I need to bother with CDs for? And yes, this car has a CD player. That's not the music I listen to anymore. Some of it's not bad, but I still love me some Reliant K. I just don't listen to all their music, and it's usually something comes to mind, so I'll go to that song. Boomerang and Can't Complain. Love those songs. And those are on some random playlists, like skating playlists and stuff. Just because they're happy songs. I like them. Yeah, I spent a shit ton of time with those guys. Their music. Saw them in concert. I think my first boyfriend was his senior year in high school and my freshman year in college, and I think we linked up with a couple other friends to go to see them. I think they were in Anderson. I went to Ball State, so it's not like it was that far away. But yeah, but I had some guy that was in Lafayette, and he said, if you're ever up in Lafayette, he said, because I'm really interested, but that's a long way to go for CDs. It's like, I get that, but I'm not. I did, just his approach. I left his, the chat in my mailbox because it's not completely out of the realm of possibilities that I end up there at some point in time. Because my friend lives in Kokomo, but she talked last time I was there about going to the place she skates, or her team skates or practices in Lafayette at some point. There's a outdoor park, I think, that, or something. I don't know. It might be an actual rink. I think it's outdoor. So, but she mentioned at some point when I go up there, we should, if we go early, or if I go up there earlier in the day, which means got to function earlier to drive the hour and 45 minutes to Kokomo to get back in the car, so for her to drive us another hour to Lafayette. Yeah, that'd be a hell of a day of it. But in that case, I would totally contact that guy again and be like, hey, it's your lucky day. I'm in town. So yeah. But who knows when that's going to be. And if it's an outdoor place, it's clearly not right now when it's 29 degrees out and feels like, well, car says 26 degrees, phone said it feels like 17. So it's like, yeah, that's not a day I'm going to skate outside. Yeah. What was the other thing? Oh, there was another woman that was local that asked me about them. And she just said, okay, mind you, I have it marked for 30. She said, would you take 25? I said, I would take 25. And then she comes back immediately and says, my husband asked me to see if you would take 20. I said, I would not take 20. It's like, mainly because you started there. Yeah. It's like if you start low and then adjust high, I'm more flexible on that rather than if you ask me to drop it a tiny bit and then ask me to drop it even further after I said yes. It's like, no, that's just taking advantage of the situation, which does not surprise me in this community wanting that item. But no, I'm not doing that. And then the other one was, I don't even know where the town is from here, but it's in Indiana, and I think it's less than an hour and a half. But she wanted me to see about shipping it to her, and so I took it to the post office yesterday. I got this box of CDs in the back of the car. It's like, it's kind of heavy, and I took it in the post office. I was like, all right. I was like, I'm pretty sure she's not going to want me to do it, but I was asked to find out how much it would cost to ship this. And the lady said, here, get this. it would start at 33.30. So there's my 333s again. And I was like, okay. So I sent the girl a message back and was like, I said, I'm pretty sure you're not going to want to do this, but if you wanted me to ship it to you, it would take the cost of $30 for just the CDs to $75 for shipping and effort. Because that's a lot of effort. I did a lot of effort just repacking them so I could put them in a box that would work, and then taking it to the post office to figure all that out anyway. So that's already more effort than I really cared to put forth on that endeavor, but is what it is. Now it's in a new box, so yeah. That's one thing I can appreciate if I'm donating my time to, okay, if I'm using my time to sell something that I'm actually going to get money out of. I knew this girl wasn't going to want to buy it as soon as she found out how much it was going to cost to ship to her. I knew that before I went to the post office. But if she was going to push through, then yeah, she was going to pay me for my effort as well. Because that's my time and energy. And that does matter, even though used to I was just a pushover on everything. And a lot of that is my family, and how they've taught me to be with them. It's like, that's not healthy. So pushing back is good. And I have talked about how I do not like setting rates if I'm like I'm dog sitting for my brother or something, or somebody asked me to house sit or whatever. It's like, I don't like having to come up with the cost for something, like how much. The way I see it is, how much is it worth to you to have me do this thing for you, to help you? Now, if it's way ridiculously low, then I'll, like I did I did tell my brother the other day, it's like, that's $20 more for 3 days more worth of work than you normally pay me. And he's like, oh yeah, that's not enough. It's like, there you go, see it that way, then we agree. But yeah, just to go straight to a low ball and just accept it because I can't stand up for myself anymore, that's shitty. And that's very much a part of why I am where I am right now, going through everything I am right now, because it's making me put forth more effort in determining how valuable my time is to me. Yeah, my grandma asked me, or she said a while back, I think, I told her no the other day, that she would want to pay me to come in to take care of my grandfather. It's like, there ain't enough money for that job, and there ain't enough want to in me for that job either. Like taking my or helping him get out of bed and go to the bathroom and stuff. Nope, that's the job for his daughters. They've handled that already. They all worked in the medical, and I'm further down range. I don't need that. No. God, there was one day my mom had a doctor's appointment that she didn't get canceled, and so she went ahead and went to that, even though it was against her, I guess, her want to on it. She figured she should because it was her appointment. And so she went to the appointment, and then my aunt it was the 3 days that he was at home. My aunt got called in to help clean him up because he peed the bed. Didn't have he's not in a shape where he can just get up and go to the bathroom or anything, and half the time he's not even aware of what's happening anymore. So it's like, she got called in to come clean him up, and it was right at the time of my mom's appointment. And I was like, I got called in, so I was like, all right. And he was just bitching up a storm the entire time. And I don't remember exactly what it was that he was complaining that my aunt was manhandling him, pushing him around, trying to get the pad off of the bed and all that stuff, and the changing process, all that stuff. He was just bitching about everything. And at one point I was just like, look, nobody wants to see your shit here, so just hush. Just settle down. Stop being a jerk. Nobody wants to help you when you're being a jerk, kind of a thing. I did not say that flat out. I did say nobody wants to see your shit. Yeah. I don't know. That whole, like, the whole conversations that come up are just awkward and stupid. It's like, that's not good. You know, but it's like, my aunt looked appalled that I said nobody wants to see your shit. You know, because I think he was her immediate thought was he would be concerned of our modesty or whatever. It's like, dude, yeah, I just am completely not interested in seeing anything, you know. And I was thinking about that earlier, like a couple years ago. My dad, me, and the youngest aunt's husband got called in to help pick him up out of the shower. And obviously, that was a couple years ago, so he was able to do more on his own, but he had fallen in the shower, and that was a whole ordeal. And it's like, still, why do we not start with the fire department? Hey, that's a bunch of men in this town. It's like, that could, you know, they do those kind of calls. All you have to do is say, non-emergency, but we need help getting this old man off the floor. And I think we did eventually call them in that day, but for some reason we had to start with the three of us picking him up in there, and that was a whole ordeal. It's like, keeping him covered, I don't want to see anything, and, you know, it's just an ordeal. And then it just, why couldn't the fire department be the first people we called? Why? They are for that. They can do those things. Those guys are a lot stronger than I am. I guarantee they work their arms a lot more than I do. So yeah, do need to work mine. They're kind of a little softer than they need to be. Since I've been skating, I actually have like these little weights that I found. Like, all I can do is put my fingers in them, really, but I don't know if they're supposed to be done more than that. But that's enough for while I'm skating anyway. It's something to hold on to, and I can flip it off if I fall. But yeah, I have little weights that would probably help on that a little bit. But yeah, haven't got those. Well, I mean, I got them out because I went through the box of weights and sold a bunch the other day. Haven't used them yet because it's freaking cold right now. But we'll see. I'll probably do it once, and if it sucks, never do it again. Sell those too. But yeah. I don't know. It's like, I don't, it's just like that conversation piece. It's like, I don't know what any of y'all think about anything. Somebody needs to just start speaking up and just like speaking the freaking truth. Like, because apparently everybody's so terrified of doing it. And, you know, like my mom and her sisters just dropping everything to pick him up and everything. It's like, somebody is going to get hurt because, yeah, maybe a couple of you worked in the medical field. Only one can, well, everybody worked in the medical field for a little while anyway. But my job did not involve lifting people because I was in mental health stuff, you know. So, you know, and then my one aunt's a radiologist, the other aunt's a nurse, former nurse anyway, and my mom worked at the heart hospital for a little while. So we all had some medical training, right? That does not mean we can just go about lifting this old man by ourselves all the time and it not be a problem. Somebody at some point is going to get hurt, especially as much as he bitches about everything and they allow him to bully them into doing stuff they know better than. You know, like move him from the chair to the bed at the hospital when there were nurses around, and yet they just were going to do that on their own. Yeah. Anyway, going back to that original point, well, I don't know that it was an original point. Going back to an earlier point in the video, that's just one of those, nope, now I forgot the point. Yeah, that's all fun. Oh, the bullying thing. Oh, I know where it was. So, now that I'm able to be a lot mouthier and say the things like, I don't want to see your shit any more than you want me to see your shit, or actually probably way less than he even is open to that possibility, since eventually he folded and, you know, the daughters now are acceptable, because they've had to take care of him and stuff. It's like, just, yeah, why? Yeah, I don't know. This whole thing just doesn't sit right. That goes back to the point of navigating between the old world that I'm clearly still somewhat stuck in, but also trying to get to the new spot where I don't have to live with my mom and dad, and I can actually, you know, me and my dogs can have our own space, and I can do videos in the house and not feel like completely weird about it. Unless, you know, I mean, the only way I don't feel weird about that now is if, like, there's nobody home. But then there's the possibility, if they aren't camping, there's the possibility they might get home before the video's done, and then that's a whole thing. It's like, I don't want them to have the awareness that this is the thing that I'm doing, because I just don't. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I know my family would be the biggest non-supporters of it, especially since a lot of it's talking about this stuff. And I think that's why it's important, is because I feel like there's a lot of people that actually go through this or similar shit and are trying to work through that as well. So let me just call some attention to some royal bullshit that happens when nobody says no, nobody stands up for themselves, nobody has boundaries. It's like, this, you know, and then those moments like last night where I yielded and allowed myself to get drug over there, and then it was just for my mother's satisfaction that I did do the thing, so I'm not entirely unreliable to her and unuseful to her. We're getting there though. We're getting there real quick, especially if she's going to gloat in the times that I cooperate, and it's just that little kind of a thing, and it's like, that's all it takes for me to not want to help you anymore. But anyway, I gotta go get ready to pick up my niece, so I can get off of here and go do that. I take the dogs home first too, because they don't need to be in the car. And normally I would mention it to my dad and he'd go pick her up, but the thing with that is I'm not entirely sure he wouldn't take her over to my grandparents' house. And right now my brother and I are very much in agreement that she does not need to be anywhere around them without her parents there. And, you know, because that's all it would be, is latch onto this little child's healthy energy so we can pull her into our madness and not making sense of anything and letting the old fart bully us all. In the meantime, I will appreciate my ability to be mouthy toward my family and say no and do the things, you know, even though I sometimes am more cooperative as I'm trying to disconnect all this shit. I'm sometimes more cooperative with them than I need to be. I'm still trying to navigate that area on what's actually necessary. You know, like my brother sent a message to me about, okay, my mom started in with the stuff with my grandfather was gurgling in his throat yesterday, whatever, and, you know, as a sign that he's going to die soon, kind of a thing. And my brother sent me a message and said, it might be tonight, it might be tomorrow, it might be next week, it might be a year from now. It's like, obviously you never can tell, but it is, if you freely donate your energy to him, he's going to keep kicking for even longer, and that's not healthy. At some point it has to be okay. And it's just a cycle. It's just, at some point the body can't keep going, and I mean, what are we going to do? Put him in something that breathes for him and does all the things when he can't do any of the things by himself because his body's so far gone on every other area? You know, although it does beg the question for me and my brother anyway of what's going to happen to the families after he finally does go, because that's a whole hot mess in and of itself. But yeah, we'll see when we get there. Yeah. Anyway, I'm out. So as always, I appreciate you, and until the next time, see ya.